My name's Dan Magnuszewski. I'm kind of an elder of the startup community, but for me, I'm doing everything from advising startups, investing in startups, kind of just trying to help the next wave and try to help them make different mistakes than I've made in my journey. Not only was I a organizer of the first startup weekends, I was also a participant. So I've done, I think, participated in about 2 of them, but have helped from the organization standpoint on a couple others. And yeah, so it's an interesting weekend. It's a fun weekend. It's a long weekend, but at the end of it, I think there's some really great stuff that usually comes out of it, and people get excited, and it's a great way to bring the community together. Things that you learn from Startup Weekend are really just around focusing on, what is that MVP, what is that basic problem you're trying to solve, and then being able to really distill it over a couple days into not only the pitch, but can you get something built that's demonstrating it? Have you talked to a couple customers and have that validation in the span of a couple days? So I think that's important for anyone that's looking at doing startups, that's looking at seeing if there's an idea that could be, become its own company. But, I think that's a great lesson that people kind of have to go through in this weekend. My startup experience really started, I was working at M&T Bank for a while out of school, and when I graduated college at UB, and I joined Synacor, which was at that time about a 100-person startup. They were kind of starting to scale pretty quickly, and over the couple years I was there, they went from about 100 people to 350 people. So, I was able to really learn and, a lot of lessons on what to do and what not to do when scaling. So I was at Synacor for a while, then I went out on my own, and this was probably, I think it was around 2010 to start a couple ideas that me and a couple people had, and those didn't really work out. And I was just doing a lot of freelance software development, product management stuff for people who had ideas, but needed to figure out how to kind of bring them to life. And so I was doing kind of the product and the software development side of that. And then I kind of pivoted a little bit and joined Z80 Labs as I was getting off the ground to run Z80 Labs, which was really the first incubator here in Buffalo, focusing on high growth internet type companies. We had a $5 million fund, and so we were able to really be the first true venture capital in the area. So did that for a while, and kind of wanted to get back into building companies and building product. And I think about 2014, end of 2014, got together with a couple guys, had this idea. We had this idea around how can we take dealer-to-dealer wholesale auctions and really bring it to a mobile app, mobile experience, but really, bring the internet generation to, what has been, for the past 70 years or so, really the same physical, manual process of dealers buying and selling used cars. So, ACV has obviously been a great success, and, it's a great experience for me, but, I think it's a great thing for the community. We've been able to raise over $350 million in venture capital from the biggest funds in the world. And then last March, we went public and had a successful IPO. But now we're over 2,000 people, and we're the first unicorn here in Buffalo, which I think is great. And I think someone had to kind of be the first one to go do it. And so we showed it could be done, and now it's kind of up to the next wave to go and do it again and do it better. There's so much more infrastructure in place for startups. 43 North was still a fledgling thing going on. Still wasn't a lot of venture money. There wasn't a ton of people, VCs looking to Buffalo as a place to source deals. I think all of these different programs, there's so much more money out there. There's now more people have gone through the process that can help mentor and advise companies to try to help get them to the next level. And that's always the hardest thing, is having people who have been there, done that, and are coming back and saying, here's what I did, here's what may help you here or there, don't make this mistake. Things like that, I think, really help mature the ecosystem, and ACV and others have found success. People have been able to spread out from there and go start their own things. So, that's what we need. We need successful companies that spin off other successful companies. So I think we're in the midst of that right now. Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice, and a lot of it isn't explicitly just said, but it's really just around thinking bigger maybe than you're normally thinking. And we would sit around and say, okay, this could be $100 million company, and you talk to venture capitalists who've seen this before, and they can see a couple steps ahead, and like, no, this is a $1 billion company, and this is a multi-billion dollar company. So it's kind of changing the perspective and how you think about things and how you view opportunities. I think is the biggest way to do it. How can you think about growing faster and bigger, and because in a lot of ways that's for a lot of companies, the only way you're going to win is if you move faster and are more successful quicker than your competition. And especially when you're going in an area with incumbents, they have a ton of money, so you need to make sure that you can kind of play ball and move a lot quicker and keep them on their toes. I'd say it's just best advice: go out, find companies that you find interesting, that are maybe solving a problem that's kind of near and dear to you, or just something that seems interesting, and reach out to those companies. I mean, startups have a million things they need done, never have enough people, never have enough resources, and reaching out to offer help, to get involved, those are the best ways. Really anyone can get into it by reaching out and starting those discussions. And if maybe there's not a role or something like that, ask what it is they are looking for, and maybe you got to go sharpen your skill sets in one area or another, come back. But if you're persistent enough, and ideally the company matures, ideally there'll be a place for you. But most startups just need all the help they can get, and so just simply reaching out could be a huge way to get in and get involved. For me, I'm just really looking, I want to see ideas that are solving real world problems, and a team that's kind of passionate about it. I always love people solving actual problems, and a lot of times it's really interesting when they're kind of the boring type of I love B2B type companies, but solving some of these more boring problems, but those are underneath the hood are usually super interesting, and there's usually huge markets with not as much competition, as opposed to some of the more flashy ideas and quote unquote problems. Keep going. I don't know. Hey, just I think it's up to us to kind of keep the momentum going, and keep trying to think bigger and try to keep growing. And I think if we're all kind of in this together as a community and helping out, the odds of us succeeding will go up greatly. And so I think it just takes all of us to kind of bring the ecosystem to the next level.